Hey yo, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to create a full beat from an 8-bar loop. A lot of times producers talk to me that they get stuck, they have an 8-bar loop, they aren't exactly sure how to turn that into a real song. And in fact, that is the easiest part, and that is what I'm going to walk you through today. This is a track that I finished recently. It's kind of like I call it drill and B. It's like kind of got a drill bounce to it, and I have vocals recorded to it and everything, but I'm not going to play the vocals for you. We're going to focus on the beat. And a lot of times what I do is I get a simple 4-bar, 8-bar loop, and then from there, I'm able to build out an entire track. And so I want to show you a few techniques and tactics that I use, strategies, so that you don't have to overcomplicate things. Once you have the 8-bar loop, you can take that and make an entire song out of it. So the first things first is I normally start from me. The most important thing is the drums and the main melody of some sort. So this is what the beat sounds like with everything. Right? And so we've got this low end. As you can tell, I've got everything labeled, drums and then samples. And so this is where all of the kind of melodies and everything happen. And if you look at this, it's not like there's a lot going on. We have our keys and our guitar, which are doing pretty much most of our lifting when it comes to the actual melody. And then we have these 3 different types of vocal chops that add a lot of space, a lot of texture. They make the track feel full without it overcrowding the main vocals. So if we listen to the samples with just the keys and guitar, let's listen to this without the vocals, and I'll show you what the difference about this. So check this out. That could work. That is probably doable, but listen to how much kind of more character and more full this sounds with the vocals. Right, so these are now pitched up. And if we listen to the vocals just as is, this is what they sound like. So there's a lot of, right, on this chain, there's a lot of reverb, a lot of delay on these, but there's actually not, they're just chops. Like they're just kind of little stabs of vocals. It's not like they have a ton going on compared to these guitars and keys, which are continuing throughout the track. So here's the deal. When you're making your 8-bar loop, if you're making this again for vocals, thinking about where you want the vocal to sit in the mix, and then trying to create instruments that work around the vocal. For me, the vocal is one of the most important parts of the track. And so I think about that as an instrument. And so I already know these keys and the guitar are going to compete with my vocals. And so I don't want to have a lot of other instruments, because then it's going to distract from the vocal, which to me, as maybe that's my ego talking, but as a vocalist, that to me is one of the most important elements are the lyrics, is the singing or the rapping, whatever it is. So as you can tell on both the keys, oh, I thought I had on the guitar, but maybe I'm tripping. So that's bad practice. I have absolutely nothing on the guitar. What I should have on here is some sort of an EQ like this. And like I have it on the keys here, you can tell I've cut out everything on the low end because I want my 808s, especially because it's a drill track, I want my 808s to really shine. And then I've rolled off a lot of the high end because I've got other things going on up here and maybe some of the vocals going on up here. So it's carving out spaces for things. What we're talking about mixing a lot, but the point being is when you have your 8-bar loop, being intentional about your tracks. I know this is about extending the beat out, but they really do go hand in hand. So how do we extend a beat? Let's get down to brass tacks. Once you have your 8-bar loop, it depends how much you have going on there. Once you produce enough, you realize how much you really need for a beat and how little you really need. It's going to depend on the track, depend on you and what you want out of the track. I know once I have my kick and my 808, I have my drums going, whatever sort of drum pattern I have. I don't normally like more than maybe 2 or 3 sort of melodic elements. I love spacey vocals like this, so this is almost always in a key track, pitched vocals of some sort. Maybe that's the Diplo influence in me. but I love pitched vocals as an instrument. And then maybe I just might have the keys or maybe just the guitar, but because this one had both, I thought it worked. And for the hook, think about, depending on how you want your hook to look, it's a bar. Depending on how you want your hook to look, it can be the track with the most things going on, or it could have much fewer things going on depending on where you want the parts of your track to have the energy. For me, I often have the most elements of my track in the hook. Not always, but most of the time for me, that's when I'll have most of the elements is in my hook. So that will be the part that I'll create first. I created this entire beat just off this 8-bar loop right here. Because these instruments, I said, that's enough, and now we're good to go. And so if we look at this, right, throughout the entire track, it's not like there are new instruments coming in and out. It's the same instruments, but just chosen at different times. So from the hook, right, everything, I've got pretty much everything going on here. But then coming into this first verse, let's listen to this transition into the first verse. There's still plenty of room for the vocals, but there's still enough drums and energy that it doesn't. Listen how different the energy would be if you take these hi-hats out. You can, but it kind of loses the drill bounce. Right? And here's another piece. This is some sort of a percussion thing that just has a bunch of reverb on it, so you don't need it in a ton of places, but it just adds some atmosphere to that first verse. I've cut out almost every other melodic element, all the vocals and the guitar other than the keys, so that way the lead vocal can kind of come through. And I don't like to have more than maybe 4 to 8 bars. I don't like more than 4 bars without the beat switching up in some regard, just to keep things interesting. It doesn't have to be a huge switch, but here, as you noticed, all I've done is I've added the 808 in and the guitar back, but I've taken the vocals out. So in this first part, right, we have these vocals here, just to transition a little end. And then we bring in the 808, we have the kick, and no vocals. And then I've also, to transition, right, I don't have any transition elements here actually. It's just, and my transitions are empty, it's just taking out these elements. The listener knows the transition's coming. And then coming in here, all I've done is a slight chop, and I've added an extra kick in the hook. And here, just so that it was just, I thought it was an interesting kind of little flair to add like a chopped start to the hook. And that's it. And so you can pretty much just take this whole thing, boom, and then just copy, drag it over and paste it. And you don't even need this little flary thing. That's just me trying to be fancy. So thinking about your verses as having movement, how can you add movement? What elements can you take in and out? Here, again, I have this like reverbed percussion sound throughout the 2 times in this 4 bars, compared to in this one it's just 1 time. These open hi-hats are only in the hook, and the 808 comes in the second part of the verse. And then here the beat breaks down, and if you notice again, there's no new instruments. This entire breakdown section, this little bridge section from the second part of the hook, the second part of the second verse into the final hook, is simply, listen to this. All I added here was I just automated a filter. So if you look at it's off and then it's on, just to add a little bit more room for the vocals. And that was it. Period. It just automated a filter and you have a bridge. You just copy and paste the entire beat breakdown. You just can copy and paste what you already have and then add a filter to it, and there's your bridge, right? It's not like you have to come up with crazy chord progression. If you're Tyler the Creator, maybe, but I always find that super simple is a filter on your instruments, and taking the drums out adds a bridge. And then in terms of my vocals as well, here I took out a lot of, no doubles. So it's just the hook again. It just went from the hook that normally I have the doubles. So I just make everything more sparse as a bridge oftentimes. That works for me. So, and then you just copy and paste the hook back in here. And this is, if you wanted to get fancy, you could add another instrument in here because it's your final hook. If you wanted to, you could add more vocals, maybe another double or some different ad libs, something to kind of spice it up or make it different. But for the most part, once you have your 8-bar loop for your track, you're good to go. You've got your whole track. And then it's just kind of copy and pasting it out in terms of the structure and adding and removing elements so that it stays a little bit interesting. It doesn't have to be like every verse is its own entire brand new creation. You just can take instruments out, take them back in, drop them out here and there periodically, and maybe add a filter or add some sort of a breakdown, and you've got your entire track. So I hope that that's helpful. If there's anything you want to learn, drop it in the comments below. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always, and I'll check you on the next one. Peace.